Hey, this is Antonio. Welcome back to my channel. Now, who's ready for some fighting words? In this video, I want to talk about Savannah Marshall. Savannah Marshall has decided to activate the rematch clause between herself and Claressa Shields. So it looks like we will be getting that rematch that I personally feel boxing, not just women's boxing, but boxing so desperately needs. And I look forward to this. I think it's a good move for Savannah Marshall because it wasn't the worst showing ever. And even the accolades that Claressa Shields gave her in the ends of the fight, saying that she was her toughest opponent to date, and she hit the hardest to date. Now, that being said, if you like the videos, please subscribe. If you have not done so already, please subscribe right now. Great opportunity. Also, while you're at it, take the 2 seconds that it takes to hit that thumbs up button. Let's get back to this video. So with this clause being activated, what does that mean? Well, we already know that Claressa Shields has other obligations contractually in terms of MMA, and she has up to 3 bouts, but I do believe that is 2. Now, that's neither here nor there. Basically, what I'm saying is Savannah Marshall has more than enough time to get herself situated, more than enough time to come up with a better game plan, more than enough time to study that last fight, that last showing between herself and Claressa Shields and make the wrong right. But she needs a dance partner. And reality is she is going to need a tune-up fight because no, Claressa Shields will not be boxing in the interim, but she will still be fighting and still be in the combat realm in the interim. So I propose, since she just had a spectacular win, Caroline Dubois. Why not? I know a lot of people would say that's not the type of fight that you jump back in the game with. But number one, Savannah Marshall never truly left the game. I mean, it's only been, what, a month or two? So she's never really left the game, so that's number one. And number two, yes, Caroline is very dangerous. No doubt about that. She's extremely dangerous. And I do think she will soon be the face of women's boxing. She's young, she's strong. She seems to grow every time I see her in the ring in terms of skill setting. So I think she has a lot of attributes. But I'm kind of taking a page from Floyd Mayweather's book. I personally believe that Floyd Mayweather would have beat Canelo if Canelo was in his early 20s or his 30s at the time. It wouldn't have made a difference. But Savannah Marshall facing Caroline at this stage, at this early stage in Caroline's career, I think would be strategic. I think it would be smart. And I think it would more than set a precedent and make a statement for Savannah and also women's boxing that, women are continually putting on the best fights. But I think for Savannah, it would say a whole lot. It would say, you know what? I found the roughest, toughest, biggest, strongest, hardest hitting girl that I could find in your absence, Claressa. I took care of her. So let's get this thing going. That's basically what that would mean. And again, one, I think it'd be a mega fight because it's the UK. It's an in-house fight. It's a domestic fight. I think it would do record-breaking numbers. I actually do think it would do record-breaking numbers. Do I think it would be as big as Claressa Shields versus Savannah Marshall? No, you have 2 different countries. So no, I don't think it'd be as big as that. Not to mention 2 completely different personality types in Claressa Shields and Savannah Marshall. So no, I don't think it would be as big as that. Caroline is a lot like Savannah Marshall, and she's very graceful in her approach. She's not much of a trash talker or anything like that. She likes to be peaceful. So I don't think we would get a whole lot out of a press conference. If anything, I think there'd be a whole lot of praises going back and forth. And basically keeping the camaraderie inside the country, inside the UK, basically. But I think once they get in that ring, it would be something completely and totally and utterly different. I think there would be destruction. I think there would be carnage. I do think there would be a knockout. The way they both fight, there's only one way that it could end. Now, Caroline in her last fight, she looked very good. There's not a whole lot to say about the fight because it didn't last long. But what I will say is I liked her foot movement. What I will say is I liked her jab. What I will say is I like her head being off the center line. Those are three things that I liked. And I think she would also need those three things if she were to go up against the likes of Savannah Marshall. She would need to keep that head off the center line. Savannah Marshall hits hard. And Savannah Marshall likes to pepper the jab and lead, and everything falls off of that lead jab. That never really goes home. And what I mean by never really goes home is it always stays out here. It never really anchors back here. It always stays out here. And, Caroline kind of did the same thing, only I felt like she had some really good legs. I don't know what her legs would have looked like in latter rounds. I don't know. I don't know if she would have still had that same cardio. She would have still had that same hop in her step. I don't know. I also don't know if her jab would have diminished over rounds. I don't know. Because like I said, it didn't last very long. So I really don't know. But I feel like she definitely has the makings of being one of the, probably, I'm not going to say the most dominant female boxer. But I will say probably the top three. I mean, she's on her way. She's destroying everything in her path. She's on her way. But I think if Savannah Marshall could get her early before she fully blossoms and blooms into what she's going to eventually be, and I think she will eventually be that probably in another year or so. I think all she needs is really maybe 2-3 more fights, and she's going to grow into something quite ferocious in the ring. However, that's why I think Savannah Marshall needs to get her hands on her now. The reality is, if Savannah Marshall were to stay around at least 2 years, she's going to run into Caroline anyway. Why not get her in the early stages? Why not get her in a premature stage? Why not get her where she's not fully developed? Why not get her where her confidence is high? And you can play off that psychologically. Caroline is not a trash talker. Caroline is not she's not that. So there are ways to attack the armor. I think one of the ways to attack the armor is psychologically. And I think that it would show up in the fight if you attack her psychologically. When you have people like Caroline and her brother, Daniel, and they don't do a lot of talking, and they're more stoic than anything else, they'd rather just get in there and fight and let their hands do their talking. I think there's always I think you always run the risk of having somebody who's not, I'm not going to say as mentally strong. Obviously, if you get in a ring, you're mentally strong, but can't handle things any other way. And you can break people long before they get in the ring. I mean, look at Muhammad Ali. He did it time and time and time again. Look at Floyd Mayweather. He made people so angry that they threw caution to the wind just trying to knock him out. It's the same with Ali. So yes, I think it can be done. Like at Roy Jones. Yeah, I think it can be done. Sugar Ray Leonard, it can be done. You could break people mentally. I think Savannah could do it in such a subtle way that it could begin to work Caroline's nerves. If anything else, she could begin to just, you know what, I really want to knock that chick out. And and I think that could work because I'm not saying this is an easy fight. I'm not saying this is a fight where Savannah Marshall is going to wipe the floor with Caroline. I don't necessarily believe that. But I think it could do wonders for Savannah Marshall. Let's just say, hypothetically speaking, Savannah Marshall gets in a ring with Caroline and beats her, drops her. I can almost guarantee you that Savannah Marshall would be back on the column she was prior to the Shields fight in terms of admiration from you and myself. She would literally be back on that column like, this lady is unstoppable. This lady is a mammoth. She's a Goliath. She did what nobody thought she could do. She's dropping these ladies. She's dropping these girls. But to do it to that girl, I personally think it puts her back in that realm of even, being invincible almost. That aura that she had around her originally, but prior to the Shields fight. It puts her back there. That's what it does. I think it ranks her very, very high. But I think more importantly, in the minds of the consumers, you, myself, but also psychologically speaking, Savannah Marshall takes out Caroline. She's really thinking, I can beat Shields. I can definitely beat Claressa Shields. That's a physical and I believe a grueling fight. I do believe it would be a fast-paced fight because Caroline likes to get the party started. But I don't see that fight going the distance. I don't see it going the distance. I think it would play on whether or not the distance is kept between the two. At distance, I think Caroline possibly could drop or floor Savannah Marshall. But up close, Savannah plays very well up close. I haven't really seen Caroline in the clinch. I haven't really seen her in a no-holds-barred type of situation. So I really don't know about her character when her back is against a wall. I can say that for Savannah Marshall. I cannot say that for Caroline, and I think that is fair. I think it's fair. In terms of competition, we've seen Savannah Marshall in the ring with the absolute best female boxer of all time, hands down. And she didn't look utterly outclassed. She wasn't dropped. She didn't look like she didn't have a chance in the world. She didn't look as if there was no way to win this thing at any given point, that it could not have turned around. And she fought all the way through. It wasn't as if she just gave up and said, you know what, I'm going to stay here on this stool, or I'm just going to be a punching bag, collect my check, and put on a good one for women's boxing. She didn't say that. She didn't do any of those things. The reality is, Caroline, we have not seen her in a sticky situation. And I think a fight with Savannah Marshall would indeed be a sticky situation. I think it would quickly turn into a sticky situation because Caroline likes to crack. Savannah likes to crack. And I think Savannah does have the mind of a champion. And I think she would desperately want to get back in there with somebody who would crack with her, with somebody who would stand in front of her. And I think it would be dangerous for both ladies to stand in front of the other. But I think the way they both fight, it would eventually turn into that. And I think it would eventually turn into that rather quickly, maybe by the second or the third round. In which case, I don't give this fight 7 rounds. I really don't. I think 6 might be pushing it. But that's what I think. I think a great opponent will put her back on that column. Now, yes, Savannah Marshall already has the rematch clause, so she could sit back and just train. And just train for the rest of this year if she wanted to. Because if Claressa Shields has 2 fights, that's 2 training camps, and it's going to be grueling, and then she has to get back into a fight camp, a boxing fight camp. So we're talking about the end of the year easily. So Savannah Marshall could sit back and do nothing and wait, or she could prepare and she can get back in the winning column. And I think there would be nothing greater, nothing stronger than the type of statement that would be made if Savannah Marshall were to take on and quite possibly defeat Caroline Dubois. Those are my thoughts. You tell me, what do you think? Do you think Savannah Marshall should just train? Or do you think she should take on the biggest, toughest, roughest challenge that there is out there and make a real splash and a real statement that would probably shock and frighten everybody in her division? I want you to drop your thoughts down below. As always, please like, please share, please subscribe to my channel.